Hey folks, it's been a while, and yeah, a lot's happened in the past month. I've been extraordinarily busy. I had some stuff to do for work. My parents were moving and their sickness in the family all at the same time, so it's just been insane. I've had zero energy to just do anything YouTube related, but things have calmed down. I got my parents moved, along with a bunch of other people that helped, so hopefully now my life will have some sort of semblance to it and it'll be a little bit less hectic now. First half this year's been a bit crazy. But anyway, I went to Southeast Linux Fest back in June, and it was a blast. I drove here from up in Pennsylvania down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and on the way there I was taking 95 to 85, and that put me right smack dab in Greensboro, more or less. So I decided, well, the Nostalgia Mall and I decided it'd be a cool idea to meet up for lunch. So that's what we did. We met up for lunch, had it at a place called Monk's, which was delicious. I'll throw a picture on the screen of both of us together. And if you want to see that whole interaction, he made a video about it, and I'll put that link in the description if you want to see us goofing off. So I had lunch with him, met him in person for the first time, and we decided to go to a Goodwill and go thrifting, because why not, right? While I was down in North Carolina, I was going to be sure to go to some of the thrift stores down there, because the ones here, up here where I live, are kind of bad, at least for computer stuff and things like that. And while I was there, I ended up with some computers, which we will talk about very soon. I went down to Charlotte for Southeast Linux Fest, which was a blast. Met some cool people there and hung out. And we also went to a Goodwill store called The Grid, which sells nothing but computer stuff. And that's where this HP comes in. I got this HP from that particular Grid. And I really like this machine. It was about, I think they were selling it for like $25 or something, but it was half off that day, so it was like $12. $12 for an AMD Phenom 2 X4 830 based machine that took DDR3 memory. So I stuck 16 gigs of RAM in this, an SSD, and a hard drive. And now this has been a very, very well-equipped Linux machine. Been very happy with it. There's not a whole lot to say about it, other than these old Phenom 2s really hold up today. A lot better than the FX chips do. So using this for a couple weeks just for fun has been really cool. Been running Debian on it with KDE, and it's been fantastic. This monitor I also got from the Goodwill that the Nostalgia Mall and I went to. The soundbar I got on eBay. The monitor itself I got from that Goodwill. It's a fantastic monitor, and these soundbars really have good sound. I was kind of surprised. Well, I'll have to demonstrate that a little bit later. These Dell monitors are solid, man. I really like these things. This one is DVI, VGA, and everything, so pretty fantastic stuff. So what other computers did I get? Well, here's one of them. I got a Dell Latitude D630. I haven't had one of these in a while. You might remember the one I used to have that I bought from YouTube user Condulo. I think that's his name on YouTube. And that one had a blown speaker. That was kind of funny. This one, I have no idea if it has a blown speaker or not. I haven't tested it, because I'm using this as a computer for things like Discord, TeamSpeak, you know, voice chat related stuff, so I can just have a headset going for that sort of thing, independent of the rest of my computers. And I put it in sort of the center of my living room here, just so that I could get a good signal out of it, because it uses RF for the headset. And my phone's ringing. Of course it's ringing. So this D630 I decided to fix up a little bit. I stuck Debian with the XFCE desktop on this thing, as it is basically an over 10-year-old computer, and it runs beautifully with it. I did stick an SSD in here. I've taken to getting these really cheap Inland Professional SSDs at Micro Center sells. They're like $25, $26, and that price definitely shows it, because they're made of plastic, they use brass inserts for the screw holes, and the speeds aren't exactly as advertised. They're not quite that fast, but they're fast enough that it's still better than a hard drive. And I think those make great SSDs for old computers like this. The difference between a hard drive and an SSD in these old machines is staggering. So this machine's been awesome for that. So what else did I get? I got a Compaq Presario 1230 laptop, which unfortunately I got rid of a while ago. That thing had a power delivery problem where it would spin the hard drive up very quickly and put lines on the screen, and eventually it stopped posting. So that computer is just a piece of junk, so I got rid of it. I did keep the other computer I got, though. I managed to get some vintage stuff from that Goodwill that Nostalgia Mall and I went to. And that would be this guy here. I had to buy a power supply for it, as you can see, but this little Gateway laptop here, it's a Gateway Solo 5300, I think. What is it? 5300... Gateway Solo 5300. There you go. It's a Windows 2000 era laptop. It's a Pentium 3 900. I stuck 256 megs of RAM in this thing. And this thing came with Windows 2000. It still had the original Windows 2000 install on it. And it had some nostalgia on there, man. Oh, man. It had Avast with the blue spinning globe. And it had a whole bunch of other stuff. Maybe I should make a video on this laptop by itself at some point. I had to buy a power supply for it on eBay, of course. A T-Power supply, which is still a featherweight piece of junk, probably. But you know what? It works. It works. Now, the other laptop I got is sitting over here, because I've been testing this one lately. This is a Dell Latitude D830. This thing is pretty cool. This has a much more involved story behind it. So, I got this D830 from the same Goodwill that Nostalgia Mall and I went to. Just to be clear, that HP came from the grid, while pretty much everything else came from that one Goodwill that Nostalgia Mall and I went to. This D830 is in not quite as good shape as the D630. D630 is pretty minty. But this thing, you can see it's got a pretty shiny keyboard. You can see me in the screen there, because it's nice and glossy. I'm not a huge fan of glossy screens for reasons you might imagine, as you can see here. But everything works. The keyboard works, TrackPoint works, the trackpad works as well. There aren't any broken ports as far as I know. So, it all works pretty well. Now, what separates the D830 from the D630 is that it's a bigger size laptop. This particular one has NVIDIA graphics. It has Quadro NVS 140M, I think. And those are known to be lap burners, and this laptop does get hot. When I first got this thing, it would overheat and shut itself off. So I decided to repaste it. And it's a good thing I did, because the paste was dry as cement. So I had to literally chisel it off for 20 minutes. And I put some Arctic Silver 5 in there, and that basically fixed it right up. So now this computer doesn't overheat, runs just fine. And with computers like this, where the NVIDIA chip uses flip chip technology, you probably don't want to push the graphics that hard. So I'm just using this as I would my D630 with Intel graphics, just, you know, as a Linux laptop. It is also running Debian with XFCE. This has a 2 GHz Core 2 Duo, just like the D630 does. I stuck 4 gigs of RAM in this. There's 3 gigs of RAM in the D630. And I stuffed another one of these 120 gig SSDs into here as well, which makes it a very viable Linux machine. So, what else did I have to do to this thing? I had to replace the hinges, because it was really floppy before. The screen would just fall back. The hinges on these break. The D830s are not the best compared to the D630s, because they're just not built to withtake the wear and tear quite as much. Like, the weight of the screen actually breaks the hinges on these. It happened to this one, so I had to replace the hinges for about $7. But luckily, that wasn't too expensive of a repair. So this laptop can be a viable Linux machine. Now, both the D830 and the D630 have Core 2 Duos in them, and I would not recommend using those for anything important anymore due to the Spectre and Meltdown vulnerabilities not being patched on anything before the iSeries chips. But if you just want an old laptop to browse the internet and stuff like that, these laptops are still pretty good for that. If you're just doing basic stuff. The speakers on these are pretty good too, I have to say. It's better than D630 for sure. So this machine was a surprise. I was planning on selling this because it had the NVIDIA chip in it, but I got it to, now that I have it at a steady temperature, I don't think I need to do that. I can just keep this thing and run it as a Linux laptop, which is pretty cool. So these are the computer finds that I had while I was in North Carolina. We might go into more detail about some of these. I suspect we will about the Gateway. The D630, the D830, maybe. Not sure yet. If I have some material to talk about, we'll definitely take a look at these. Otherwise, they're just your garden variety business class laptop from around 10 years ago. So, yeah, it was nice to catch up with you guys. It's been a while. Got more coming down the pike, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So, have a good one, everybody.